Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City, where we want to help you build a Lego city regardless of the space you have. In this video, I'm going to do a minor reMOC. That's a remake or a modification of this hidden side set, the Shrimp Shack Attack, set 70422. I'm going to approach this video like I approach my building a MOC from start to finish, and that's to give you an overview idea of how I approach this and how I'm actually going to reMOC this set. Now when I talk about reMOC, basically as with all my reMOCs, what I want to do is to retain the essence of the build. What I'm really trying to do is to add to the back to make it complete, and I want to change this into a modular style building. That means the roof will come off. And that's because I want to integrate this into my custom Lego city where all my buildings are modular in nature. Now for this particular build, what I intend to do is to keep more or less the look of the entire build. I do not want to change it so much, but I think I will take out these stairs at the back and I might bring this down. I haven't decided yet. What I'll probably do is actually to replate it. That means I'm going to place this onto a base plate. Now, how do I decide what sort of base plate I want to put it on? Well, I start off with figuring out where I want to put this in my Lego city. In this case, what I want to do is to place it next to the old fishing store. And that is this building right over here. And this is a Lego idea set. Now, I think these two buildings go really well together, and incidentally, if you want to check out a review of the Shrimp Shack Attack, do check out the link in the card above or the description below. And likewise, if you'd like to see my modifications for this particular set, do check out the link in the card above or the description below as well. In any case, I do want to place the Shrimp Shack next to it. Now, if you can see over here, next to the old fishing store, there's a door. And that's why I think it does make sense to lead to this Shrimp Shack. After all, this is a fishing store where fishermen do come to drop off their fishing catch of the day. So, but in order to do that and for this to make sense, I will need a blue base plate on this side if I want to have continuity for the water. So that's not so important for this part of the build, because obviously then this part or this Shrimp Shack will have to be on land. Now I could have done basically a larger base plate of blue and place this on top, but what I've decided to do is to have its own 16 by 32 stud base plate, and I want to place the Shrimp Shack on top, just like that. And there are several reasons I want to do this. For one, I want to be able to have some flexibility just in case I want to move the Shrimp Shack around. I am not confined by that big base plate. But in a case like this, as you can see, if I were to place this over here, I still can place the blue base plate over here, and I still get the effect that I want. So that's pretty good. But down the road, should I decide to change things around, maybe I'm like to move this perpendicular to this build, or maybe just somewhere else completely in my Lego city, I have the flexibility to do that as well. So that's how I decide what sort of base plate I'm going to mount it on. And in the case of the Shrimp Shack, the good thing is this particular build is actually 32 studs wide across, except for some extrusions over here due to the vegetation. So what I intend to do is to actually remove these protruding parts over here and replace them somewhere else on the build. What I also want to do is to take out the bottom base plates and remount it on this base plate. For one reason, I want to actually lower this so that the height is the same. As you can see, it's currently one plate too high, and I'm talking about this step to here, right over there. I want to make this level, so I do want to remove the bottommost plate. So that's the first thing I generally do. I think about what base plate I want to set a Lego official set on, because that often determines then the size, the overall footprint, and other modifications that I have to take note of. Now, after I figure out what sort of base plate I want to mount it on, I need to figure out the size, especially when you have to add to a back like this particular build. I don't just want to add basically a layer of wall, just one wall over here. The reason is I could, of course, but then I'm really going to cut the space down, and if you can see, there's actually some appliances over here, and there's some cutlery all hanging here. If you really close this off, you're really going to lose a lot of space. It's going to be pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this entire build by 2 studs. So what I have to do is to take another layer of 2 by something brick to plate it across over here, or to brick it across, add another layer of plate on top to hold everything together, and then I can extend this entire build out by 2 studs. And then of course I will need to find parts to add in the side over here in the corner and all the way to the back. So that's the second step I do after I figure out the base plate. I think about how I can increase the size of the actual build to include the back. So that allows me to figure out what sort of bricks I need, and there's a lot of planning involved because you actually have to think, how are you going to make up the space with as little bricks as possible but to match the original build. Now in some cases when I'm building reMOCs like this where I want to add a back, sometimes I might buy 2 sets of the original set, and that's so I have the right parts and the right colors to add to the back. But in this case there's really no need to buy 2 sets because it's really just a couple of bricks. When I say a couple of bricks, it's probably still at least about 30 or 40 bricks just to cover up this back. And what I often like to do is I like to use panel pieces or windows or door pieces to fill up the back surfaces or any kind of sides. That's so I don't have to use so many small individual bricks. So that's a tip for you. Now the final step in the planning often is also the most challenging at times, and that's to figure out the roof size. As you can imagine, if I extend this by 2 studs, I really have to extend the wall by 3 studs, because imagine 2 studs over here and then I have to extend the wall out. But that means this particular roof will have to be extended by at least 3 studs. Now generally I do not like to work with odd numbered studs, and the reason is all Lego plates generally come in even numbers, especially these big plates. So you want to try to keep it an even number so you don't have to use so many different plates to create a roof. So I always like to use as little pieces as possible for a roof, simply because it's one plain piece like that, and if you have too many parts, then you need a lot of different plates underneath to hold it together, and it's just structurally not as sound. So in this case, what I'm going to do is, notice there's an overhang in front. So what I thought is, even though I'm going to extend it by 3 at the back over here, I can extend the roof by another 4 studs, so there's a corresponding overhang behind. So that's my plan. And the other thing that I have to plan for is, besides extending just the roof, I have to think about the structure below, because I do want to change it to a modular style roof, which means that I need to replace any plates with tiles and put in some jumper plates so that I can pick off the roof anytime I like. Now there is one little challenge here. I wouldn't say a challenge, but it's a little obstacle in the way, and that's this little feature over here. Now you can see if I turn this, the bottom rotates here, and that's because there's a Technic crossbar that runs all the way from here all the way to the top into this barrel. Now this is just a play feature. I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to be, but I guess it's supposed to reveal something hidden there. But as a result, there's actually a Technic plate over here with holes, but that will get in the way with me if I'm building a modular roof. So I'm going to do away with this rod that runs all the way through here. That doesn't mean I'm going to get rid of this play feature. I'm going to try to keep this rotating bar inside but make it shorter, and maybe I can put maybe a chicken or something on top where I can also rotate to get that rotating effect. So that's basically it. As you can see, there's lots of planning. Oh, and by the way, once I figure out the roof size, I can then determine where I'll place this onto the base plate. As you can see, I'm going to extend it by 2, but if I extend it by 2 and I'm going to extend the roof by 4, technically I have to push this forward by 1. Does that make sense? I know it may sound confusing, but the idea is, remember, if I'm extending by 4, the roof will protrude all the way out here. So I need to keep it on the base plate. If not, it's going to extrude out of the base plate. And if I place this against, let's say, a wall, then there'll be a problem. It won't be flush in line. So that's basically the planning. And usually planning can take quite a while. I think I took easily maybe an hour to plan this, as well as to get the parts based on the plan I had. So I assembled the parts based on the plan I had, and now I can actually go ahead and start work. So let's get started with this. I'll change the camera angle so you can see how I'm working. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is to pop off the roof. I'm also going to remove these stairs, and I'm going to extend this base of the actual build. And of course, what I'll have to do is also take out the base plates underneath, and I'm talking about these plates here. So I'm going to take out these plates, and then I'm going to replate the entire build on this base plate. But I still might use some of these plates. I don't know how just yet, but I still want to keep some of this texture, so I do not want to lose that. So let's see how it goes, and let's get started. So what I've done here is actually take out the bottom, and I've taken out some of the guts as well because they aren't needed really. Maybe we might need something here just to hold everything together. I could take a plate like that if I wanted, but I think there's enough support that I don't have to do that, so I won't do it just yet. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out this play feature as well, because I don't really need, you know, this to slide in and out. I will take this out, and I'll just use the parts for future. So now that I've got more or less this down, I do have to replace some of these studs like this just to make sure it's the same level. And then I have to place this in the right spot. And remember, I mentioned that I have to make sure that there are 4 studs extra over here. So this has to be placed somewhere here like that. I will have to bring this all the way over here as well, and I will have to remove these vegetation parts and switch them around to the other side as mentioned earlier as well. So what I've done is to place the entire build on a new base plate, in this case the 16x32 base plate. As you can see, I've removed a whole bunch of stuff, the guts, as well as the set of stairs over here. This particular vegetation right now it's a bit loose, but I haven't really put it down, but I think this would be here, so even if I have water or something, this makes sense. Or I could move it maybe somewhere here. I could do this as well, so I haven't decided, so I'm not gonna really worry about that right now because this is really cosmetic. I should have some stairs or steps coming down over here, and I think this can be the eating area, as well as maybe a bit here as well. Now the reason is I do not want the eating area to be on the roof. I think that doesn't really make sense, it's a bit dangerous. So I've expanded this area over here, so that makes sense. And if you look at it with this fishing store, that works nicely as well, because that just leads all the way over here. So I'm happy with that. I've decided to keep the trap door, so I think this would be a cool place to hide stuff, like bad guys can hide sugar and stuff like that. So that's just nice to have. But I'm taking out the monster effects. I will be changing the luminous teeth over here to white. So I think I'm halfway done, so that's pretty quick. What I'm going to do now is actually to lift off this roof over here, take it apart, and rebuild a new roof. Well, I won't build the roof right first. I'm going to add to this part here, so 2 more studs over here, and then I have to build the back, and then I can add the roof. So sometimes when you build, you have to change things around, and these are just odd bits. For example, you see this reverse slope piece over here. Now the reason why this piece was here originally was to support the staircase, but since I've taken that out, we really do not need this piece over here. As a result, we do also not need this 2x4 light gray brick or plate as well. So actually I can remove it, because we still need a plate because of this coffee machine, but we do not need a 2x4. We can change it out with a 2x3 like that. And instead of this piece over here, we can actually use a 1x4 over here to connect everything together, so that's stable as well. But of course, I have to fill in the space over here, so this part goes in here, And the good thing about this particular shrimp shack is, even though I didn't have the exact tan colors, I think these colors would still work well together. At least that's what I think. I will put them back together, and I'll put this back and I'll see if it visually fits. I think it's alright. It's a hodgepodge kind of look anyway, so I think it will work. So that's what I'm doing over here. I will need extra plates above in just a bit, but let me continue building this up. You see, notice this, I will have to change this out as well. This will have to move somewhere here, and I will have to move this particular holder as well, simply because I'm gonna have bricks here. So hopefully I can find a new home for this later on. So what I've done is add it to the back over here. As you can see, I think generally it still works. Now, I didn't have the exact same colors as I mentioned, but I think it works. And I tried to add all kinds of texture from using these modified bricks to these round bricks over here, just to give it a bit more texture. And I use window pieces to fill in the space. I don't have to use so many bricks, but more importantly, so that light can go in. And I think generally it still works. So what I need to do now is to figure out how I'm going to plate the top. I'll probably use brown plates to plate this up, and then I can build up the rest of the bricks over here, and then I can move on to the roof. So what I've done here is to add the back. I took out all these plates because I need to do a modular style roof. I wanted to retain that color scheme. I didn't have a 1x4 jumper plate like this, so I just put in the dark gray. I don't think it's a huge deal, and I'm not sure if this is the right position because when I actually built the roof and put it on top, I have to figure that out to see if that actually fits. So I won't be using this exact roof design, although of course I'll be keeping all these elements. I'll be building a bigger roof, and I'm using these pieces over here. Let's see, this will go on like that, and I think that would fit. And this goes here. Yep. Now, so the only issue now is this piece over here, because I'm actually now, I think, too big. So let me see, this would go here. Well, that's not long enough. So I'm going to see if I can find a piece that would fit all the way here, because unless I do want to do something like that. So there's an overhang here, and that will allow me to create something just like that. Now, I could live with that. I think that might work actually, although it does seem a bit strange for it to overhang so much. So let's see if I can find another piece like this, but longer. So I don't have a piece that long, but I'll have to make do with something like this. So what I need to do is find a way to connect all these pieces like this. And that's sometimes the tough thing to do with roof pieces. So I need to see how that extends out this way. So I think if I do something like that, this should be for the front. Alright, don't worry, I'll explain it as I go along. So let me just put these pieces together first. So this is what I've done for the roof. I've used 2x something long pieces to hold everything together, including this part over here. That's the 2x4 piece earlier on. Now I'm going to put it on the front. The reason I'm going to put it on the front, because I've got a jumper plate here. I want all this to be solid. So let's see if I can just fit everything on, and that works out quite perfectly. I'm happy with that. Alright, we're almost there. So what I'm going to do now is to transfer all these parts back over here, and let's see, that's about the same length. In fact, I think it's a bit shorter on this side, but I think that's fine actually. If not, I would actually hit this. So that's the reason I can't make it too long, but I think this works, unless of course I want to be funny and I want to try to extend this out by popping it up like that. So what I could also do is to remove this and just make this longer like that. Actually, that might work. Then I can have an overhang. So let me give that a shot. So what it looks like I need to do is to actually change this pin out. Let's see if it's the right size. Yeah, that would work. and this would actually extend here. Now I need to put a collet, so maybe I'll use this piece here. Let's see if it sticks out too much or it's still workable. Let's see. So this is the shrimp sign. So it's not ideal, I think. I could actually push the pin in more. So let's see if I can push in this pin in more this side, and maybe I'll use a smaller collar and we'll push this all the way through. You know what? No one's going to see it on the other side. I think that's fine. So that makes it look better. It's not so close to the shrimp sign. This should, that's the wrong way. Let me do that again. Turn it 90 degrees. Push that in. I think that works. So what this does, it actually allows me now to build this back the right way, the way I want it actually, and it can extrude out one stud on each side. So let's do that, and then I'll just add this on immediately and we'll see where we're at. So I've completed the roof. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure if I want to add more details on top. Won't worry about it right now. What I do need to do is just finish the inside over here. So as you can see, I've got tiles that need to be added in. So what I'm going to do is just to follow the same pattern, and I'm just going to add in the black and white tiles like this. So there we have that added in. That's pretty easy. Now I mentioned I'm supposed to put something here. I'm not sure what I'm going to put yet. I think I'll decide when I do the final detailing. Let's just put this on top so that we can have a look. And there we have the shrimp shack, all completed in a modular style. I can put windows here, but should I? Well, okay, I'll put a few windows, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to add in a bit more detail all around, and we'll just see how that leaves us. I'll add all these, I guess, these are supposed to be tables, so I can add these back. I mentioned I'm going to add in some steps, so let's add in some texturing. Let's add in some of these tiles back as well, or these plates, and just make this a bit more shrimp shacky. And here we have the completed shrimp shack. As you can see, I've added some things. I made some changes offline. I actually moved this entire dining area back a bit along with the sign, but everything does line up with the back of the base plate. And I've added in some rock here. And I've also put 1x4 tiles, and I'll explain why in just a bit. But overall, you can see the flow of the build, lots of detail for the outside landscaping, just so that it can really blend in with what it's supposed to be. And overall, I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. Now, I will be doing a separate video on this. I'll add in some minifigs and some scenes so that'll be more interesting, and I'll show you all the details and changes that I did then as well. But let me just bring the old fishing store back. Now, I've made some minor changes here as well. I've added in a raised platform and planking so that this can go pretty well together, as you can see. So that goes like that, and that's the reason I put the 1x4 brown tiles there, and that's so that the door can open properly. If not, if there's a plate, that would actually prevent the door from opening up. So I like this because you open up and you go all the way to the dining area, and that's pretty seamless in terms of the transition. And imagine if we add another base plate here, let's say this blue base plate, and I've added in some rock over here. You can see that continuity. Imagine if the entire plate was detailed as well. That would really make everything blend in. But I'll stop here for now. I hope you enjoyed the reMOC for the shrimp shack. If you've got any thoughts or feedback, please leave them in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Check out these two videos before you go.